Listen to this dry crack at the center of your existence. It is the topography of human insignificance, revealing that your wicker spine is buckling under the weight of a world you pretend to carry alone out of pure paper sovereignty. The air around you is a vacuum of authority, while dense sweat exposes the metabolism of one who relies on glass autonomy to hide a jelly spine vibrating at the edge of collapse. I am Aleph Garzen, and I am here to desecrate the rest of your isolation bubble, where you intoxicate yourself with the fantasy of a lineage that confuses loneliness with actual power. This architecture of ruin you call strength is merely the exile of reason operating within a comfort neurosis that makes you a stationary target. If your ghost pulse cannot endure the weight of the freezing truth, vanish now to your mausoleum of ego and accept your terminal nullity. You believe asking for help is a decree of nullity, but the truth is that kneeling before your own pride is the only sentence you execute with millimetric precision while life passes you by. You think your mask of self-sufficiency is a bulwark, but it is merely a vanguard hiding synapses of hesitation and a prefrontal cortex atrophied by the arrogance of one who cannot read the map. By minute 7, I will expose the geometry of collapse and the protocol for expropriating weakness so that you learn to bite reality without becoming a burden to those who actually move the world. Prepare your sternum for the pressure, because the air is about to vanish, and the only thing left will be the necessity to sediment discipline or accept definitive burial. Stay and face the necrosis of the will, or accept that your wicker pillar will never support a vault of real sovereignty. Like this command, and write in the comments. Technical alliance. Are you an operator convoking reinforcements, or just a specter sinking in silence out of vanity? Prove your fiber isn't cotton. The amygdala hijack you are suffering now is the direct result of a homeostasis where the fear of being seen as insufficient generated a constant secretion of excuses in your mental current. You wake up with the bitter taste of an empire of ashes in your mouth because you know your glass architecture won't survive the next spasm of hesitation that the territory besieged by reality imposes. The farce that you are an unshakable bastion of stagnation is charging its price in low-caliber dopamine, turning your grit into a lymph of submission disguised as independence. The wall gave way because you built your base upon a pantheon of nullities, and now the vacuum of internal authority is sucking out what remains of your volitional degeneration. Map every point right now where you lied to yourself, saying the load was bearable under the asphalt. This analysis of weakness reveals that your monastery of cowardice is sustained by a biology of flight that prevents you from seeing connection as a high-level strategic asset to win the war. Where the pressure increased, you didn't seek the granite of alliance. Instead, you isolated yourself in a dome of ignorance, believing silence would protect your fake granite image from shattering. The result is a character short-circuit that immobilizes your command paralysis every time the siege closes in, and the topography of failure becomes the only visible landscape on your horizon. Amputate the hope that the world will pity your isolation. It only watches while gravity does the work of crushing what lacks a solid foundation. Recognizing paralysis is not a lament. It is the first technical maneuver to staunch the moral bleeding and recover the perimeter of your reason. Incinerating self-deception requires you to desecrate the rest of your own ego mausoleum and understand that the paper sovereignty you flaunt does not generate enough torque to move reality a single inch. Rupture begins when you decapitate the hesitation to admit that your isolated effort is merely a spasm trying to simulate life in a structure that has already suffered complete existential entropy. The promise of operational sovereignty does not come from a cure, but from the expropriation of weakness through the thermal shock of recognizing that you are an irrelevant atom if you are not integrated into an elite command network. Shatter the belief that being helped diminishes your imperial stature. In fact, using the pulse of others to stabilize your own is the high-level maneuver that separates the sovereign from the defeated. The gain in torque occurs at the exact moment vanity is calcined for good. Feel the weight of granite replacing wicker in your base as you muzzle the lament and begin to dissect the farce you sustained through decades of social lies. The world is not a place of affection. It is a siege of indifference where only unbreakable density survives, and that density is only achieved when you grind the illusion that you can be a vault without pillars. The exile of comfort is the price of entering the vanguard of those who truly operate reality, requiring you to excommunicate doubt and begin seeing every ally as an extension of your own defense system. There is no room for sentimentalism in the geometry of collapse. Either you integrate your will with that of other elite operators, or you will be swept away like dust from an empire of ashes that never had glory. Rupture is the decree that your old identity has been executed for the Logos to rule. Every atom of pretension must be withered under the cold light of technical analysis so that you realize the brilliance you seek comes from shared pressure, not isolation. The bastion of stagnation you call your way is merely the territory where flaccidness breeds freely without the friction necessary for the formation of the imperial character life demands. Bite reality with the strength of one who has nothing left to lose, and understand that the torque needed for reconstruction is born from the rubble of your own pride, shattered on the existential factory floor. The command now is for you to identify 3 points of structural rupture where your self-sufficiency failed, and prepare to give up your skin in exchange for a granite alliance. Real sovereignty is built upon the ash of vanity, where the only asset that matters is the capacity to sustain maximum load without the structure yielding. The topography of human insignificance before the cosmos is a siege of icy indifference that does not care about your need for validation or your pantheon of grievances. You are a point of fatuous light in a vault of stupidity if you believe the universe will pause to notice your collapse or applaud your isolation as the martyr of the bulwark. The vacuum of authority governing the laws of space is the same force that grinds your wicker pillar when you refuse to sediment the discipline of seeking technical reinforcements for your survival. The world is a territory besieged by entropic forces demanding maximum density, and any secretion of excuses is merely the signal that your necrosis of the will has reached the core. Look to the horizon and see that reality offers no consolation. It only offers the opportunity to be stone in a world of glass. The empire of ashes you inhabit is the result of generations of lineage that confused command paralysis with peace of mind, ignoring that the implacable rhythm of existence demands an elite metabolism. The icy indifference of the stars is the mirror of your own paper sovereignty, revealing that without the expropriation of weakness, you are merely a specter wandering through a necropolis of pretensions without strategic value. Map the distance between what you pretend to be and the nullity of what you deliver to understand that the only real asset is the calloused nerve that endures pressure without emitting the sound of lament. The cosmos is an expanding architecture of ruin, and your only defense is to build a vault of sovereignty that uses the friction of the world as fuel for the calcination of vanity. If you cannot breathe in the cold of this truth, your cortex has already been taken over by mediocrity. Accept that your existence is a decree of nullity if there is no constant search for the sedimentation of fiber through thermal shock with raw, naked reality. The sand bulwark you defend will be swept away by the tide of chronological indifference, and what remains of you will be only the dust of your own cowardice if you lack the courage to muzzle the internal animal. The cold truth is the only acid capable of dissolving your dome of ignorance and revealing whether beneath the mask exists an elite operator or just another secretion of fear. Do not wait for the light, for the universe is dark and silent, rewarding only those who can stabilize their pulse before the abyss of conformity that tries to swallow everyone. Granite sovereignty is won when you stop asking for permission to exist and start decreeing order in the vacuum, using the siege as your containment wall. Pressure is the sole catalyst for sedimenting the fiber capable of forging your metabolism into a granite column, engineered to uphold the vault of sovereignty that destiny demands. Every spasm of pain that runs through your system is the chisel of reality striking the raw stone of your character to remove the excess sentimentalism and the lymph of submission that make you an easy target. The architecture of pain is not a punishment. It is the high-level engineering necessary to stabilize your pulse under disaster and ensure your structure doesn't suffer fissures when maximum load is applied. The granite block you are becoming is forged in constant friction with the most hostile elements of the world, requiring you to keep your jaw locked and your breathing in 4 counts as the press descends. If your nerve isn't calloused, You are just an intruder in the territory. Feel the heat of vanity's calcination melting the sludge synapses and allowing the cold light of the logos to illuminate the topography of your new inner territory, where comfort has been permanently exiled. Pain is the signal that your necrosis of the will is being reversed by a shock treatment that accepts no excuses or simulations of effort to maintain the appearance of strength. The vault of sovereignty you are building demands that every pillar be tested to the point of rupture. For in a world of constant siege, the slightest weakness is an invitation to total destruction. Do not seek relief. Seek density. Do not ask for less load. Ask for granite shoulders and a will that does not bend before the mausoleum of the ego you finally left behind. The architecture of pain is the only path to the expropriation of an obsolete identity and the foundation of real sovereignty. The command is for you to feel the pressure as an iron embrace that defines your outline and prevents your essence from dispersing into the vacuum of authority that consumes the sleepers around you. Every blow of reality must be received with the coldness of one who knows that the damage is merely the removal of sludge and the revelation of the calloused nerve that now governs your metabolism. The sedimentation of fiber occurs in the silence of millimetric execution, where the lament has been muzzled, and the only allowed language is that of raw results and the imperial discipline that accepts no negotiations. You are the architect and the raw material of this monumental work, which requires you to be implacable with yourself, so the final work is unassailable before the logic of chaos. The granite block feels no pity for the stone it once was. It simply occupies the space with the authority of one who survived the press and now composes the foundation. High-level command in besieged territory requires you to map 3 exit variables while chaos operates around you with the violence of imminent collapse. Breathe in 4 counts, lock your jaw, and understand that the protocols for breathing in the rubble of disaster are not suggestions, but decrees of survival for the elite operator. The first maneuver is the isolation of the doubt virus through the immediate expropriation of any thought that does not contribute to stabilizing the pulse before the threat. The second technical action is the establishment of a perimeter of silence where the internal animal is muzzled and the logic of the logos takes total control over the command paralysis that previously dominated you. The third directive is the execution of residual flaccidness, incinerating the remains of the obsolete identity that still tries to negotiate with reality for comfort. Working in besieged territory means every movement must be millimetric, and every gram of energy must be directed toward maintaining the imperial column that sustains your new self. There is no room for error or hesitation, for the geometry of collapse does not forgive amateurism or the simulated effort of those still carrying sludge synapses in their metabolism. War engineering demands you see the world as it is, a system of raw forces that only respects the density and technical authority of those who learn to bite the asphalt without complaining about the taste. Your duty is to sediment discipline, such that your pulse remains steady even when the load ceiling is hit, and the structure around you begins to emit the sound of grinding metal. You are solely responsible for the integrity of your perimeter, which requires vigilance against flaccidness. Keep your gaze fixed on the primary exit variable and ignore the noise of others' pretensions trying to drag you back into the abyss of conformity where most sleepers rot alive. The elite operator knows that true strength is born from the capacity to maintain order in the vacuum, transforming the rubble of failure into raw material for building an unshakable granite sovereignty. The protocol demands you execute every task with the ferocity of one in combat, knowing that flaccidness is the only sentence you cannot serve if you desire victory. War engineering is not about winning every time, but about never being broken by the anvil of reality, keeping the internal structure intact even when the external world is a necropolis of pretensions. Definitive sealing of the mental perimeter is what is required now for the final transition. The final command of this section is the total occupation of your strategic position, without retreats or apologies for the hardness of your new imperial character, shaped by impact. The world will feel the weight of your presence and recoil before the technical authority of one who does not fear the siege, having transformed their own pain into a bulwark of unbreakable resistance. The time for being a specter is over, and now the logos governs every fiber of your being. directing your will toward the conquest of the territory that flaccidness once lost through cowardice. Be ready to pull the maximum load, knowing that your imperial column is the only pillar left standing amidst the topography of generalized failure consuming the mental plebeians. Sovereignty is a decree sustained at the tip of the punch and in the precision of the calloused nerve that learned to laugh at chaos while stabilizing the pulse under glorious disaster. Useful scarification is the war resume your body displays after being ground by reality and having the courage not to turn into a mausoleum of wounded ego. Every calloused nerve is a medal for the expropriation of the wicker sensitivity that once made you tremble before any spasm of hesitation or secretion of fear. Scars are not marks of defeat, but the points where your cotton skin was replaced by granite armor through constant friction with the geometry of collapse. The value of a man is measured by the density of his scar tissue, which reveals how many times he was run over by reality and had the technical authority to stand up and bite the ground again. If your specter pulse still seeks the smooth skin of comfort, you still haven't understood that sovereignty demands the calcination of vanity and the acceptance of raw pain as a data point. Understand that the calloused nerve is the only reliable sensor in besieged territory, as it does not transmit the noise of sentimentalism, only the naked, raw truth of imminent impact. The expropriation of wicker sensitivity is the process of muzzling the lymph of submission that made you seek validation in the eyes of the mediocre and the sleepers who never stepped into the forge. Your duty now is to honor every mark of combat, using them as reminders that flaccidness was executed and that the new elite operator was born from the rubble of what you used to call identity. Scarification is the final decree that your slave metabolism was incinerated, leaving only the grit shaped by impact to govern your future actions with millimetric precision. Do not hide your marks, for they are proof that you stopped being a vault of stupidity to become a pillar of order. Sustaining maximum load without structural failure is what defines your new existence as an imperial column that does not bow before the topography of failure or icy indifference. The method for stabilizing the pulse under disaster requires you to become the fixed point in the whirlwind of existential entropy, transforming your grit into an unbreakable granite bulwark. The imperial column does not seek praise. It simply occupies the space with the authority of one who learned to carry the weight of the logos without emitting the sound of lament or the sigh of cowardice. Every fiber of your being must be sedimented by the discipline of exiling comfort, ensuring your metabolism supports the pressure that crushes the wicker pillars of the sleepers. You are the support of your own sovereignty vault, and any hesitation in your base will result in the collapse of the entire empire of order. The secret of imperial stability lies in the calcination of vanity and the expropriation of weakness, allowing the calloused nerve to take over command paralysis and transform it into immediate technical action. There is no room for swaying or doubt in a structure designed to last beyond the siege of indifference, consuming the mental plebeians around you. Your column must be straight and cold as the marble of a cowardice monastery taken by force and transformed into a bastion of real sovereignty. Keep your jaw locked and your gaze fixed on the exit variable, knowing that the integrity of your perimeter depends on the unbreakable density you cultivate with every breath in 4 counts. The imperial column is the decree that order has been re-established in the vacuum of authority and that the elite operator now rules the besieged territory with an iron hand. The repetition of dry effort is the liturgy of silence that the elite operator practices every day to excommunicate doubt and lament from their high-level metabolism. Do not wait for motivation or low-caliber dopamine. Imperial discipline is a motor that runs in a vacuum, fueled only by the will not to be broken by the anvil of reality. Dry effort is what happens when the child's enthusiasm has died, and only the grit shaped by impact remains to pull the maximum load through the necropolis of pretensions. The liturgy requires you to execute every task with the precision of a shadow architect, ignoring the noise of flaccidness, still trying to whisper excuses in your inner ear. Silence is your densest armor, as it prevents the energy of sovereignty from being dispersed in useless words or simulations of false effort. Excommunicating doubt means treating every thought of hesitation as a virus that must be isolated and incinerated before it contaminates your granite mental perimeter. Repetition is the chisel that sediments the fiber, ensuring your architecture of pain transforms into a support column that time cannot erode or turn into sludge. The liturgy of silence accepts no interruptions or holidays. It is the constant beat of the Logos at the center of your being, marking the rhythm of an imperial march that knows no retreat. The lament has been permanently muzzled, for the elite operator knows that reality has no ears for complaints, only eyes for the raw result of millimetric execution. Keep your pulse steady and your mind cold as you repeat the effort that moves you away from the lineage of flaccidness and toward the total hegemony of your reason. The extermination of the old carcass is the final sacrifice required for the birth of the elite operator who now occupies the vacuum of authority left by your obsolete, flaccid identity. The hegemony of the Logos is the new decree ruling your inner territory, where every sludge synapse has been replaced by granite fiber shaped in the heat of vanity's calcination. You are no longer the specter seeking the comfort of a sand bulwark. You are the sovereignty vault itself that the world tries to besiege without success. The new identity has no nostalgia for the demolished ego mausoleum, as it understands the past is merely the rubble upon which the new empire of order was built with dry effort. The birth of the elite operator is marked by the expropriation of weakness and the adoption of a granite pulse that stabilizes under disaster. Your new lineage is that of technical sovereignty, where grit is the only asset that matters, and imperial discipline is the only law you obey in the vacuum of the modern world's authority. The old carcass was incinerated, and the ashes were used to pave the path of your new march, ensuring you never again trip on the topography of failure that consumes the sleepers. The Logos now rules with the iron hand of the architect, designing every action with the precision of one who does not fear the impact of icy truth or the siege of stars' indifference. Feel the unbreakable density of your new being, and understand that sovereignty is a state of constant war requiring the millimetric maintenance of your perimeter against flaccidness. You are the elite operator, the owner of torque, and the master of your own command paralysis, now converted into raw power of technical execution. This is your new protocolo of existence. The next level is reserved only for the few elite operators who had the grit to incinerate their own vanity. Share this thermal shock with another specter who needs to be ripped from the swamp of hesitation. Subscribe to shield your perimeter against the noise of the mental plebeians. The irrevocable technical sentence has been pronounced, and now your besieged territory is under definitive perimeter sealing, where the order of the Logos is the only frequency allowed in the vacuum. The exile of comfort has been concluded, and the foundation of your granite sovereignty now occupies the space where once existed only the ruin architecture of an obsolete and flaccid identity. The final decree is that you are no longer permitted to return to the ego mausoleum or seek the low-caliber dopamine that feeds the flaccid lineage of the sleepers around you. Your existence is now a monument to dry effort and the expropriation of weakness, a bulwark of resistance that the world's siege of icy indifference will not bend or shatter. The transmission ends here, but the millimetric execution of your new imperial discipline must continue now. The perimeter is sealed, and the technical authority of the elite operator has been established over the rubble of calcined vanity, ensuring your pulse remains steady before the geometry of collapse. There is no more room for words or simulations of effort, only the silence of the imperial column sustaining the weight of the Logos in the vacuum of authority that rules the topography of human insignificance. Your march is now solitary and sovereign, guided by the cold light of reason and by the grit shaped by impact that accepts no excuses and does not negotiate with the mediocrity of the besieged environment. The sentence is life at the high summit, where pain is the propellant for tempering fiber and sovereignty is the asset reserved for those with the fortitude to muzzle the internal animal and excommunicate doubt. The cycle of flaccidness has been permanently broken, and now only granite and the raw execution of your monumental will remain.